Hi, grade 5. Welcome back to another read aloud of Lemony Snicket's File Under 13 Suspicious Incidents. We finished chapter 6 last time, and I will post the solution for chapter 6 on the quiz post in Google Classroom, as I always do. Now on to chapter 7, which is called Violent Butcher. It seemed as good a day as any to go to Black Cat Coffee, one of Stain by the Sea's last businesses, and certainly its most unusual one. There was a girl who spent a lot of time there, drinking the strong, bitter coffee served up by the place's enormous and elaborate machinery. The girl was Ellington Faint, and she's a long story all by herself. I hadn't seen her in quite some time, and I thought Black Cat Coffee was my best chance of spotting her. But as soon as I hit the corner of Caravan and Parfait, I knew I'd walked into a different story altogether. My path was largely blocked by a man sitting largely on the curb. He was reading a magazine and wearing an apron, although he was such a big man that it looked like he was reading a matchbook and wearing a handkerchief. Normally, I don't like to use the word mountainous about a person, but this man was so large and his shoulders so peaked and his beard so rough and scraggly like a grouping of trees on his chin that he actually looked like a mountain. I didn't have the proper equipment to climb him, so I tried a different approach. "Excuse me," I said, but the man shook his mountainous head. "Sorry, Chief," the man said. "I can't let anybody in here. You shouldn't drink coffee anyway. It's bad for you." "It's bad for you if you never do anything bad for you," I said, "but I'm not here for coffee. I'm looking for someone." "Well, I'm looking for someone too," the man said, "and until I find who I'm looking for, I can't let you in." "Maybe I can help you," I said. "I've been known to find a person or two. It's more or less my job." "My job's being a butcher," the man said. He pointed to his apron, which I now saw was quite stained, and held up his magazine, which I now saw was called Read Meat. "My name's Mac. I used to work over at Partial Foods, but now I'm freelancing. I don't know you. Usually I don't like people I don't know, so why don't you skedaddle? I can't let anyone in here until I find the kid I'm here to find." "Maybe we're looking for the same person," I said. He looked interested, but not mountainously so. "Maybe," he said. "Mine is a girl," I said. "A little taller than I am, with black hair, green eyes, and unusual eyebrows." "Wrong," the man said, with another gigantic shake of his head. "Mine's a boy named Drumstick, and he's preternaturally short, with curly red hair and extremely normal eyebrows. I don't know what color his eyes are, because I never noticed. He's my son, and I need to find him." Preternaturally is a word which here means extra. I was beginning to preternaturally dislike this butcher. "What makes you think your son is at Black Cat Coffee?" "Because I saw him right in there. Or I saw him run it right in there." "Why did he do that?" "For the reason that I was chasing him." "Why were you chasing him?" "For the reason that I hit him with this magazine." Mac said. "Drumstick was a very bad boy today. I told him to stick around the house and not go outside, and then he kept getting in my way and wouldn't leave. I yelled at him about it for around an hour, and then he told me he was going to take the train into the city to live with his mother. She's a butcher too, but not as good as with the venison. He took all the money he's earned repairing women's shoes and ran out the door. I chased him here." "Why did you stop at the door?" I asked, hoping the answer was because I realized I was doing something wrong. "I got real tired," the man said instead. "Now I'm just going to wait him out. He can't stay in there forever." "I don't see why not," I said. "There's bread and coffee and a piano that plays lonely tunes all by itself." "Say, I have an idea," Max said, leaning in close to talk quietly. His breath was warm and full of meat. "Why don't you go in with me? If I go in alone, I know he'll slip away. He moves quick as a game hen. But two of us could corner him. If you help me out here, I'll give you a rack of lamb." "No thanks," I said, thinking that it wasn't a good day to go to Black Cat Coffee after all. It was a good day to sit at the library by myself and fill my head with something other than the story of this family. "Nothing I can say to convince you?" Mac asked. "I'm afraid not." "You ever get hit with a magazine?" Mac asked me. His voice was friendly enough, but he was rolling red meat up into a mean-looking tube. "They say it stings something awful." I looked up and down the empty streets. Well, I said, you've convinced me. That a boy, Max said, and rose up from the sidewalk like a new volcanic island. He lurched through the door with that a boy following glumly behind. Black Cat Coffee looked the same as always, and as empty as usual, but even when the place was empty, it was usually loud. The vast, rackety machinery which produced Black Cat Coffee's only refreshments was completely still, and the piano, which usually played melancholy tunes, was closed and quiet. It was quiet enough that I stopped to listen for a moment. Then I walked up to the counter and looked at the 3 buttons the place had instead of people who worked there. If you pressed the C button, the shiny machinery behind the counter whirred into life and brewed a single cup of coffee. The B button produced a small loaf of hot, fresh bread, which I liked much better. The A button activated a folding staircase, which clicked into place so you could walk up to the attic, which was a good place to hide secrets. If I were Drumstick, I thought, I'd hide in the attic. I would also change my name. I thought I heard a crash right after my son ran in here, Max said, and headed over to peer behind the counter, and I peered with him. There were cups and saucers stacked up on the shelves and a surprising mess on the floor. Someone had overturned a dented metal trash can which lay on its side surrounded by bread crusts, glass bottles, a cracked flower pot, and what looked like a flattened clump of tissue paper. But there wasn't a preternaturally small boy with curly hair and eyes his father should have looked at. If you look someone in the eyes, really look at them, you are much less likely to hit them. You are less likely to even think of it. I saw a movie once where something important was hidden in a piano, I said. I saw that one, Max said. All those fools singing in French. Hold on, I'll check. I held on and he checked. Drumstick was not inside the piano. I didn't think he would be. A piano that plays by itself is called a player piano, and it has various mechanisms inside it that would prevent even the smallest person from crawling inside. I did not want Mac to find his son, but the trouble is that not wanting someone to be found is almost the same as wanting to find them. In either case, you need to know where they are. There's another door to the Black Cat Coffee, I said hopefully. Maybe Drumstick simply ran back out again. Mac either grunted or laughed. It's hard to tell with some people. He walked to the door I'd pointed out, his thick feet moving on the floor like sad toads. It was closed, and it was still closed when Mac was through rattling and pounding it. Locked, he said. Locked tight as last year's pants. Drumstick didn't leave. My son is hidden somewhere in here. I bet my juiciest veal chops on it. I looked again at the machinery and looked again at the piano. I looked everywhere in the quiet room, but at the button marked A. I did not like Mac, but I could not disagree with his reasoning. He wiped his hands on his apron and walked slowly toward the counter. Drumstick, he called. Come on out and get your punishment. I'm going to wallop you over and over, and then we'll get home and have some bone marrow for supper. Bone marrow, I said, trying my best to stand in his way. What's the best way to prepare that, in your opinion? Roasted? Creamed? Discarded? Mac glared at me and looked over my shoulder. I forgot about that staircase, he said, and reached over me to press the A button. The staircase whirred into life and descended with great creakings and groanings. That's why he threw all that trash around, the butcher said, raising his voice over the noise, to cover up for this sound. Then he ran up and hid in the attic. Well, he's caught now, like a cow on my workbench. He waved his magazine back and forth for practice and began to thump up the stairs. I moved too, but by the time he was up the stairs, I was behind the counter. I waited, and I kept waiting. I was listening closely, but it was hard to listen closely while Mac kept calling, Drumstick! In a fake friendly voice that made me shudder. Then Mac was all the way up the stairs, and then I heard it, a small metallic sound that made me press the button, the one marked A. There were more metallic sounds as the staircase folded itself up again and Mac started yelling. The button in the attic was tricky to find, so it would take a little while for Mac to lower the staircase and get down again. I hoped it was enough to give a head start to a preternaturally small boy with curly hair, normal eyebrows, and hazel eyes fleeing towards safety and his mother. So, I wonder where that boy was hiding. Lemony Snicket figured it out and seemed to have distracted the dad long enough for the boy to get away. You may have noticed a couple of people walking by in the background. That would be Jameson and Liam. Liam just walked by like a normal person. Jameson walked by like a duck. These are my boys. Love them lots. Love you too. See you soon. Bye.